one.
Well, was that like a soft opening or?
Well, that was for the people,
as opposed to a hard opening.
that's for the 3 people on Instagram watching right now.
Those are always the best
There's
ones.
3 people.
Well, 2 of them are bots. So
Chris, since I deleted my original Instagram account, I think we have 4 actual followers now.
okay, but still 2 of them are bots.
Either way.
And
Russian troll farm.
I am working in conjunction with the Russian mafia
Okay, there
Hey,
you go.
cops are gonna be
to
real
establish
people,
more.
too.
I want some of that Bitcoin.
It's gonna. Okay.
Yeah, put you in the camera. Yeah, that's better. No,
what?
just you two. Just you two.
Okay. All right, Gordon.
Good thing your mic's blocking most of my face.
Blookity, blookity.
Blah, 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 blah.
The block.
I'm just trying to figure out the most flattering angle.
No, there's nothing.
break it a few
And
hours.
figuring out that there really is none.
I don't know why
Can
I'm sitting
you
next
put
to
it
you.
on the ceiling? That way,
Full.
that way you just catch the hat and then one of the chins.
Yeah.
The girl.
Yeah.
where you- Yep.
It works for them.
It could be a possibility.
Look up and cock your head.
So, guys, if you're just joining us, I started. Well, I guess you guys weren't on the Instagram live when we started, but this is our first time back together in 2 years,
It's been a
basically.
long time. It's been too long.
Yeah.
And we're back here for a very important reason. If you guys watched the first iteration of Bored to Death podcast, it was it was incredibly fun for all of us. I love doing it. I think what am I trying to say here?
I had a great
No
time.
one knows.
I know.
No, nobody does. We had a lot of fun. This time we're kind of attacking something specifically. And if you guys follow us, if you know, look at our name, Bored to Death 2.0, trauma is our middle name. We're trying to attack that stuff. And the reason we're trying to do that is kind of part of that mission. And I am incredibly lucky to have my 3 best friends come along, doing this with me. Still can't.
You can't start already, bro.
It's not always going to be like this, but
If you stroke him affectionately, it will make it better.
Did you feel how gentle I was that time?
That's rare. That's rare.
on July 27th, my brother. Fuck, it's still hard to say. On July 27th, my brother Sean committed suicide, and he was dealing with a lot of stuff, and that ultimately manifested itself in him making a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And you'll hear me referencing that type of stuff quite a bit as we do episodes going forward. And after I went through my own kind of rock star process of working through losing him, I came to the conclusion that there's something we can do to make a difference collectively. And so kind of going back to our mission, be the difference for one person. If we can be the difference between making, getting through to somebody that is on the fence, perhaps, of making that decision and get them to change their mind, hang around for a little longer, that's a massive victory. That's one more person that shows up to dinner. That's one more person that answers your phone call, texts you back. And speaking of that, ultimately, that's what got me to get Luke, Gordon, and Chris together with me to do this. Is the night before I lost my brother, I got a text message from him. I'd gone to bed early. I had an overtime shift pretty early the next morning, and it said, "Heath, I really need to talk to you. Call me back." And I pulled into work a little before 5 a.m. that morning, and my mom called me and told me what happened. And I never got that opportunity to get back to him. So that's anybody that doesn't make that decision, that's one more person. And so now that that's out there, we can move along and we can have fun. But God, I really had to start with a downer story.
Do you need
But-
to use my shirt to wipe your eyes?
But getting that mission, our mission out there is incredibly important. And now that it's out, I want to go around, kind of introduce everybody, because, like I said, it has been quite a while since we've gotten back together, and we've got I've got some of the best co-hosts, I think, in the industry. I'm sure of it. Other people like Joe Rogan and whatnot have to be quaking in their boots right now, knowing the backup that I have. So first, I'd like to start with this half man, half ape to my side.
Half?
Okay, what, 3/4?
It's actually half Neanderthal.
2/3. 2/3 is more than 3/4, right? Is it? I don't know.
No.
Who's good at math?
Not us. That's
Not
why,
me.
That's why we have the
obviously.
job we have. Not us. So we don't have to do that.
But so I gotta adjust our live camera here. So Gordy, if I'll put your subtitles on so you can speak your native language of Silverback.
I've been training, so I don't have to use it all the time.
Oh, really?
He's been on Duolingo.
Your trainers have done well.
They've done great. They've worked on me not touching people too hard.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I like that. You didn't say not touching people too much, just not too hard.
Too hard. Too hard.
What is too much?
I mean, how many rabbits have to die before you learn soft touch?
Lenny,
At
talk
least they
to
don't
me.
go to waste.
Can you show me what your petting looks like?
Hmm?
I just shaved my arms too, so it should be really smooth.
See, that's about it right there.
That's
He
really
almost, he almost broke your
Improvement.
watch.
that's really not comforting at all.
Improvement.
So Gordon right here, one of my best friends. Speaking of the things that went through, and I want to say this about all these guys too, is the reason I kind of wanted to get us back together and everything like that is that these guys got me through every step of the way and got me back to here, encouraged me to do what I think I do really well at, and that's talking, listening, trying to connect with people. And so
And research.
bravo. Yes.
Yeah.
I am a
No kidding.
total nerd. It's not all good looks, people. There is
The
a
glasses
there
goes
is a
away.
very active dinosaur brain, not only in my head but in my ass.
Are those glasses even real?
They're blue blockers, Chris. So
Okay.
yes.
I'm just saying.
Jesus.
As a nerd, I'm a little offended.
My friend, one of my best friends back home, Gabe, always used to bet, and this was back when we were playing football in college, like when I was an offensive lineman and like 300 pounds, and
Humble brag.
his nickname for me was Stego, and I always thought it was awesome because it's like that's a sweet dinosaur, right?
It is.
But
It's
the
a very
reason
cool
he
dinosaur.
nicknamed me was because he thought I was dumb. And the Stegosaurus, if you guys don't know, it's highly theorized that the Stegosaurus had a brain in its head and in its ass that rarely connected. very well.
That would explain
And
a lot.
that was his thought process of how it took me so long to come to any decision. But so, anyways, Gordon here, Luke, Chris, don't worry, I will not put you on camera. This is just for the live audience. Can you
Special content.
Can you see him? That's Luke. Luke, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, Jesus, you don't know anything.
What's your sign?
Dude, I don't know, actually. I think I'm born on one of those that switches every once in a while. I think mostly Cancer, which is
You're
probably
a leap year,
a
baby?
premonition. What?
Are you a leap year baby?
What do you mean,
No,
like?
I'm July 19th. It's like right between a couple.
What do you mean one that switches, like a cusp? I think that's what they call it in the
I could be a
astrology.
cusp. It's not like the other word. similar to
Is
that.
it like close? Oh,
I don't know. July 19th. I don't know what it is.
um,
Anyhow, I think I'm a Cancer, which is probably a
I'm
premonition.
from talking to people that are really into astrology. I'm technically a Sagittarius, but apparently I'm a cusp of Sagittarius.
I feel like
Scorpio.
I need to follow that more closely because then I just have an excuse to do whatever I want. Like, oh, sorry, I'm a Cancer. I'm an asshole.
It'll.
I'm hot-blooded.
Yeah, it's a great excuse, dude.
This bit of information is useless to you because you're married, but the more you know about astrology, it does help you get laid. So
Well, that's some bullshit.
Well, I mean, it might still help.
I doubt it. Not in your case.
How long have you been married?
It's a while.
Yeah, it's too late.
I almost tilted the camera towards Chris.
No, don't do that.
Chris, just speak loudly so our Instagram live audience can hear.
Hello, everyone.
So, Chris, Chris there's so many wonderful things about Chris. Where do I start?
His skin, mostly his skin.
It's very soft.
It's delightfully soft.
He is. If you guys are familiar with porn, there's a guy named Brick Slayer, I think.
No, I think it's Brickzilla.
And yes. How did you know that? And I don't know that.
He's married.
Okay.
He what? This is the third time porn has come up. It explains a lot.
So let's just
on the TikTok.
let's just say Chris has a fourth appendage, and it's illegal.
Bro, we all
illegal.
have 4 appendages.
Illegal in like 47 countries.
The thing is, King could lose a leg and still have a foot.
But only 3 states.
Considered a weapon of war.
And he can articulate it like an elephant's trunk.
Yes.
From what I've heard, it's he can do quite a bit with it. It's
God damn it.
it's very
He
strange.
never loses his balance. It's like a reverse kangaroo.
Jesus Christ. But so, anyways, there's there's our reintroduction, guys. When we come back, we are going to get a little more serious. We're going to discuss a topic, our first topic today on Bored to Death 2.0. Trauma is our middle name. We're going to be hitting up things that have to do with food-related traumas, kind of our relationship with food, kind of how some of the things that have happened to us manifest itself, and not necessarily eating disorders a lot of time, but sometimes that is the case. I'll share some of my own stories, and this is going to be a first for me because it's some things I've never shared with these guys before, and I'm really interested in kind of thinking about and talking about and learning from some of my co-hosts here. I know Luke, or excuse me, Chris and Gordon. I know we've had discussions about our relationships with food. Luke is just kind of an oddity in and of himself. He claims to have no trauma, but
We'll find it.
I'm gonna make it my point in life just to dig it out, like Goodwill Hunting style.
I think
just
I think
like
trauma manifests like. So I believe we have a very good cross section of, and I hate this term, cis American men in the room today.
yeah,
Like
we
do.
do.
We have Gordy, the country boy. We have me, kid who grew up in the ghetto. You know, we have Luke, the strange kid that was homeschooled.
Yeah,
And then we have you, the prep and jock.
Yeah.
Like I believe we have a very good
And
cross section.
sexually ambiguous.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any ambiguity there.
I think
Just because you go both ways doesn't
I,
mean
Yes.
I think what we'll see at in the midst of all this is that the way we deal with trauma is just very different. What some person, it may be overwhelming for them. For this other person, they may stow it in a different way. It's just because we all have these different backgrounds, upbringing, life journeys. The way we deal with trauma, the way we deposit it, store it, whatever it may be, is just different.
And I agree, and that's one of the things I loved about already being connected with you guys is that was we are all very different and unique in our own right, and come from different places in the world, and that's a very, very important thing of what we're trying to do. And ultimately the thing that is going to connect us, and I think the thing that can connect everyone, is because we get so much today is wrapped up in individualism, and we kind of forget the things that make us very similar. And we are individuals. We do have very different shared experiences, but a lot of those shared experiences give us the same feeling, and kind of we end up in the same spot of having to deal with those. And that's a excellent point, Chris. And I'm incredibly glad you brought it up. I don't know where the fuck Gordon and Luke were on that, but they're
just amazed by his wisdom.
This is what
staring in
useless.
This is what happens
Staring
when
at
you're
all.
what did you call it? The dad? Is that what you call me?
The dad? Yeah, you are the dad.
Or whatever the wise old black man that gives.
like in every movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Legend of Baker Vance. You're Will Smith.
Oh,
Yeah.
brother,
Yeah.
oh, brother, we're
Chef.
out thou. Oh, brother, we're out thou.
Or chef. Or
Oh, brother, we're out thou.
yeah. Or what was the one with Kevin Costner? The baseball one?
Oh,
Field of Dreams?
Yeah, James Earl Jones.
Yeah, Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
Or,
Darth Vader, very wise.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and hit on our topic, guys. All right. Okay, so we had some technical difficulties, and where we left off, we're kind of talking about our relationships with food. And Chris, one of the things, just because I know our similarities in growing up, there was some scarcity. Probably isn't the right choice of words, but
no, I would use that word.
Okay,
Because
okay.
there were things that were prevalent, like I was saying before, carb heavy, and there were things that were scarce. Like, so people make the joke, black people eat nothing but chicken, but back in the day, chicken was cheap, so eating chicken was a thing to do. Chicken, chicken, tuna fish sandwich, or canned tuna fish.
Oh yeah, of course.
Of
Is
course,
there a different kind of tuna fish?
like real tuna.
People buy that?
None of us were eating that growing up.
Okay, yeah. No, just check.
Not growing. You will now, though.
Yeah.
Do you remember the last time we made steaks? We went to Templeman's.
Yeah.
How much we
shit was
spent?
legit. Oh, dude, steak is stupid.
Yeah, but
So good.
think
though.
about doing that when you were a kid.
Oh
and
shit!
you
No,
didn't
dude,
have
we had
money.
roast beef. Roast beef was cheap in 1992.
Wait, was it canned roast beef or was it?
It wasn't
like
that
actual-
cheap, bro. My parents spent their money on food.
Okay,
But
We couldn't afford canned or regular roast beef.
but like I was-
again, kind of assembling, us together and knowing our differences, culturally, regionally, whatever. I know growing up in the South where you did food play, and I don't think it's a stereotype. Food plays a much bigger role in family and relationships and
No, 100%.
and things of that nature.
like so again, like we were talking about, hate to do this to you again, but my love language is feeding people. People I care about, I want to cook for them, I want them to enjoy it. And it's not so much that I want them to say that my cooking is good, I just want them to enjoy my cooking. because, like, what is that book? The 5 Love Languages.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And they talk about all the different types and blah blah blah. And there's the one that stands out to me, and that's gift giving.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have money to give gifts. None of my family had money to give gifts, so it was acts of service, cooking.
Very similar. My mom would always impress that upon me too. So your time, so to speak,
Yeah.
which it could be.
That's another one.
Yeah.
But so, that's what we did for each other. Like, families might get together, they might fight, they may, talk shit about each other, but at the end of the day, they're not going to skimp on that plate. They're not going to play around when in that kitchen. It's not that, oh, I'm mad at Auntie so and so, so I'm not going to put a foot in these potted greens.
Yeah.
It's just that's the way we did things. And again, what was it? Financial trauma? Is that how you?
That's what it's like, right? You don't have money for anything else, but you can give people what you do good, and that's food.
And that's one of the things I was talking about as far as because I understand that that may have played a part in my overeating later in life, because again, I wasn't used to cooking for one person. I was used to cooking for 5 or more. But
so you would cook for the whole family often?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And that was one of the things I learned from my grandmother when she was teaching me. Like, my mom didn't teach me how to cook, and she'll tell you my grandmother taught me how to cook, and I learned how to cook when it was a special occasion, family members, So as far as for prepping for my meals now, when it comes to work and I can make 4 or 5 meals, it's safe. But when I'm cooking just for myself for that night, and I'm cooking for 4 or 5 people, not as safe. Especially when that mindset still is, you finish what's on your plate, you eat what I give you.
So in bringing that up, just because there's so much that there's a lot of parallels to my. I love your fucking shoes, by the way. I know, my stream of consciousness.
Squirrel.
I swear I was listening. In the similars that Howard brought up, that you brought up a lot that there's food, you eat it, and so we've also had very similar backgrounds to where both raised by single mothers. A lack of a father figure for all intents and purposes. I know in speaking to you, we both had a lot of really good men that sort of filled that role, ish.
Yeah.
And did you ever feel, and this might be too personal.
No, go ahead. But, if I don't like it, I won't say anything.
Like, some of the void of that food taking the place.
Oh yeah.
Void
Oh
that.
yes, 100%.
Same.
I mean, yeah, 100%. Because, I mean, they call it comfort food for a reason, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't call it discomfort food or trauma food or anything. They call
I would
it.
like to see a meal that, like, this is a trauma meal.
Yeah, they call it comfort food for a reason. So if I
Actually, a trauma meal would be like a Passover Seder.
No, it
So,
would be
like,
a can of lima beans.
Salt water, you dip. Like,
Dude, Jewish food and
in.
British food, all trauma food.
Yeah,
You guys can't
those
cook
are
for
trauma
shit,
meals.
dude.
Yeah.
but no,
That's why you
like
drink so much wine.
like I've never put my heart, or even as a kid, say it was. What's that shit from back in the day? Not rice-a-roni, the beef stroganoff or whatever it is.
Hamburger Helper?
Yeah,
there you go.
hamburger.
Yeah.
As a kid, I didn't put my my heart into making this hamburger helper to at the end go. I don't really want this anymore.
Yeah.
It was like, no. I remember my mom made this for me, or my grandma. Someone made this for me, and
When
And it's like I'm home alone. All I have is me, the TV, and this pot of food.
Your mom's probably gone working a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
So it's what do you do? I can't go outside and play because it's already too late. I gotta be in bed. However soon I have to be in bed, unless I want to die when she gets home.
Yeah, right.
And not to get off topic, but
Single moms
my mom was the type of person to touch the back of the TV to see if it was still warm. To see
She was a detective.
Yeah, to see if I had stopped watching.
She
When
was Southern Batman.
Yeah, when she told me to stop watching, to see if I had. So it was like, what do I have?
Right.
I have time and space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna eat this food, and yeah, it's comforting. It's and especially when I got to the point where I could make it just as well as my mom or my grandmother or anyone else, and to me it was that same taste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was comforting.
So how, just in listening to what you're saying, and it's so goddamn relatable to me. Not to Luke because he's an android. But
My mom cooked just fine, thank you.
But-
very much.
I put that notepad by you so you could take notes on human feelings. I did that specifically for you.
I put my drinks.
See,
on.
but no.
Making a great coaster.
So what I was
Coaster, yeah.
Well, I was talking about that cross section. You have me, you, single parents.
Mhm.
You got Gordy, Luke, both parents. Different experiences all the way around.
So how do you think that, in just listening to and I'm really sorry guys that you missed because Chris delivered some absolute solid gold earlier with some of your, because I since I've known you, like this, you're doing absolutely phenomenal right now. You're in the best shape I've ever seen, and you guys, ladies, if you could see this man right now, he's a handsome son of a bitch, and he looks good.
Prettiest man I've ever seen.
How was kind of in getting to where you are now?
How did it change for me?
I'm assuming there had to have sort of been. And I hate to assume, that's the wrong word.
No.
I should just ask. Was there a process of kind of dealing with that? Because your relationship with food, you had to deal with that to get where you are now.
Okay. So.
Does that make sense?
No. So I'm trying to make a long story short, but it probably won't be. So.
I love that. I'm as a motherfucker. So.
All right. So I spent a lot of years with that mindset, being that person. Got in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
living with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Still doing the same things, the cooking, overindulging. And I had a health scare. Not as bad as Gordy's, but I had a health scare.
Mm-hmm.
Don't downplay what happened.
Yeah. But, I was out at work one day, felt weird, felt off, just wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was at the heaviest I had ever been. I was 315 pounds. I was a big boy.
Yeah, that's a load.
Yeah. And, I go through this health scare and, I end up going to urgent care. I tell them what's wrong. They say, you need to go to the hospital right now. Go to the hospital, tell them what's wrong. I've never seen a group of people move so fast in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
They,
Just not comforting.
no. It's normally even in the emergency room, you're there for however long, and I tell them what's wrong, and they're like, no, we're in the back. I'm in a bed. And
Okay, hold on just 1 second.
Pour the shit out of it.
throw that on top.
Where's
salt, pepper, whatever seasonings until that heats up, and then that was veggie plate. along with
No cheese?
No.
God, you guys work
Again,
poor.
black
Holy
people
shit.
Again, black people shit.
Dude, that
along with a big ass
bleh.
pot of rice.
Oh, yeah,
or
rice.
noodles.
Oh, yeah, noodles.
You didn't have rice or noodles?
No, it was literally frozen veggies and cheese, and it was awful. Like, I would go hungry those nights. I didn't care.
Cheese and
That's not normal.
cheese is more money.
Just
than,
go hungry.
No, I didn't care.
Cheese is more money than a thing of spaghetti or a bag of rice.
Yeah, we were rich as
I
shit.
can go to
dude.
Costco right now.
I'm going to interrupt
I grew up bougie as fuck.
because we're starting back up.
Oh, are we
The,
recording?
Yes.
I deeply
Sorry.
regret you didn't miss my, or you did miss my explanation of highballs versus
I regret
rocks
it
glasses.
more than you will ever know.
Like that was comedy gold, and nobody that wasn't on IG.
Guys, if you're joining back up with us, we just took a quick break. If you're on the IG Live, thank you for hanging out with us. We just talked with Chris about our topic, relationships with food, and kind of how that sort of manifests itself in different traumas. And so we're kind of doing like a round table here, going around. And so, Gordon. I'm saving myself for last because I'm going to cry.
I thought you were gonna say you're saving yourself
So
for
I'm
marriage.
actually
And I thought
gonna
bullshit.
record- I actually pre-recorded my own earlier, so you guys didn't have to see that. But
Weeping.
Damn it.
We take trauma seriously here, folks. We do
Oh,
not
God,
make
I know,
light
this
of
is
trauma.
This is a very serious podcast, as you can tell. So Gordon, I want to actually kind of do this like, Chris, you remember like inside the actors studio?
Oh yeah, it's
That's
the
right.
Actors Guild. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Your flexibility is outstanding.
Oh, he's in
How
pain.
do you do that?
He's in pain right now.
I know.
His
balls
are being
He's hurting right now.
He's so old.
Gordon,
God,
you
he's-
were a child who ate food.
Lots of it.
Yes.
So much food.
Yes.
That's why you look how you do.
Why you talk
Yes.
about like it's past tense? Have you?
Well, because
Yeah.
it's inside the actors studio.
This is the only person I know that brings bags, and that's not an exaggeration.
I've graduated. They're big containers now.
Oh, now they're containers.
They're big containers.
He used to bring Ziploc bags of chicken, burgers, and or beef or whatever else of smoked meat to divvy out for his lunch. So
I still do that.
eats a lot of food.
So Gordon, is your soul prepared?
Sure.
Okay, so we're very good friends. We've had discussions about this stuff, and I know just most recently this last year, you've kind of come at this goal harder than you have in previous years, at least since I've known you, about wanting to lose weight and get down to get a body image, for lack of a better word, that you're more proud of.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
fair
just-
estimation of?
You come to a point in your life where you don't need to lift a house,
Mm-hmm.
and it'd probably be healthier to be a little bit leaner.
And-
I'm not horrible as it is, but just like a truck, right? The big engines die first.
And I want to just to give you guys some background on Gordon. I guess it would help if I actually showed you.
Don't be shy. Wait, are you focusing on Gordy?
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to ruin his camera.
Will it break?
Definitely break.
That's a new
I'm
podcast.
just gonna get
Cutest
closer
girl
to
I've
you,
ever
just
seen.
in case you need a hug. So guys, if you haven't known Gordy before, he was a government experiment back in 1987.
He was right after Wolverine.
to see if we could create a hybrid between a silverback gorilla
A Yeti.
and a human and a possum.
Well, and they
He
chose
has
him-
he has a small tail. You guys can't see it.
They took all the lowest
It's
IQ
the only
animals.
possum genetics that actually took.
Well, and they took him because he's mostly Neanderthal.
He is. And if we look at it closely, you can see the sloped forehead.
It's in the
Can you
eyes.
turn
a little bit.
Can you do a
slopey.
profile so they can see what I'm...
Dude, my hat's
tilt your
sweaty,
head back.
dude.
I was just wanting to tilt your head back so you could
Are you looking at
Uh-huh.
the hot dogs?
see very archaic. But
We love each
Why our
other
hats are
here.
gonna cover that giant forehead?
We love each other here. Nothing but love.
so in doing that, Gordon, like, kind of to try to get like on a serious note, we've had some really deep conversations, and I know like in some of the stuff, like we both kind of outed each other, like in kind of going through some of the self-hatred episodes that we go through. One of the things we tear up about each other is our bodies.
It's the first thing to point out. It's the easiest to look at. You got to look at it in the mirror.
Right. And I know, kind of just like along with Chris and along with myself, you've had a relationship with food that started at a young age. You know, there's things that have happened to all of us, and throughout our lives that have. What are those assholes doing?
We have.
I'm trying to get deep with my friend over.
No,
You guys are
please
just
do,
giggling
but
like a couple girls.
I
over
do
there.
have to say one thing from a Raymond.
Is John watching?
Well, there's nothing else.
He is watching, and I've personally seen Gordy ring the bell at the Tower of Notre Dame.
Oh God,
That is true.
Oh, Jesus.
So please don't continue. It was just
Yeah,
caught me
that's
off guard.
okay. I just need to. Okay.
So out of luck.
Censor yourself.
So Gordon, going back again, trying to get back on like a pseudo serious note. Where does I know where it comes from for me? Where did it come from for you? Where did it start? What have you always been like a bigger guy?
Dude, I was the typical fat little blonde-haired kid. I was picked on, and it
Same.
drove me to eat more,
Yeah.
and lift harder. Mm-hmm. And you grow up and you get picked on by like little scrawny DBs, and you're playing offensive line or whatever. It drives you to go harder. I went the opposite of Chris, like where he learned to like lean down and do the stuff to get lean. I went the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. Go harder in the gym and try to fuel it more. But it took a long time to learn anything about nutrition. We weren't, super rich or anything, But my dad always hunted, so we had a lot of protein.
Can I go back to you said you went the opposite way. Did you ever sit and think about why?
Because I wanted to be better than the people that were being mean. Mm-hmm. And that's what, with Chris, he went through his health things and he wanted to get better. For me, that was the route I wanted to take to get better. Mm-hmm. It's why I still have a problem with food. I mean, like anybody that knows me on there, Chris isn't lying. I bring containers of dead animals to eat.
Did in going through that, because again, there's a reason why you guys are my best friends, is there's so much stuff I can relate to you guys, and there's so much life experience I can glean from you guys, because I had a very similar thing. In kind of trying to get back, for lack of a better word, at the people that attacked me. You
got to learn the high road. You don't just get it.
And that's something that comes later on in life. Like I think like we're both in our 40s. Like I think we're starting to learn that.
Yeah.
So how do you think that worked for you? Like going through that, do you think that was it's not like anything to like question your methods or anything, because I'm a firm believer, and you guys will hear me say this over and over again. I do not think there's a right and wrong way to go about dealing with your trauma. I do think there are better and worse ways, but that in and of itself kind of manifests itself. I'm actually going to stop this right now and see.
Go ahead.
Even that in and of itself kind of manifests itself like later on in life. Like I'm seeing some of the benefits of the things I worked through years ago, right now in this stage of life. So how, like when you're working through that, like as a younger man, I don't know, what were kind of some of the things you were feeling?
Well, it makes you feel like crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I was like emotionally abused, but being picked on drives you to work harder a lot of times.
Right.
And that's what it did for me. It's why at 44 years old I still go kill myself in the gym. And
that's one of the odd catch-22s about, and I put this down to bring up in a later episode, because I think it does have value. And it's also, and we've talked about things like this. I think Luke and Chris, I've talked about you about things like this too. There is and it's an odd phenomenon, but gleaning some fucked up sort of gratitude from the people that sort of, for lack of a better word, tormented us, like when we were younger.
If you didn't have the negatives, you wouldn't know the positives, if that makes sense.
I love that. Yeah. I'm actually writing that down.
It's always peaks and valleys, right? Like, you may not always remember the peaks, but the valleys you're always going to remember, and it's going to drive you to better yourself, not just be complacent with where you are.
Gory, not to interrupt the conversation, but Heath, not an only child, right? Siblings. Gory, same thing.
Sister. Yeah.
Luke,
2 sisters.
Me, only child. And I think a lot of that also may have some added, value to the conversation.
Thank you for bringing that up, and that is an excellent point. Because when we're brought up in families with multiple siblings, some of that, the shit our parents download on us, for lack of a better word, gets dispersed.
Well, then
a bit.
I believe you have that. Also, that mentality, or not, because I was the only child. It was just me. There wasn't anyone to protect. Or there wasn't anyone to protect myself from. Depending on where you fall in line, whether you're the oldest or the youngest, there may be that underlining, well, I gotta make sure I get mine in case I don't have the chance, Yeah,
copy. Yeah.
But that's...
I know with me, like, my parents always made sure there was enough for all of us. Right? My sister's 6 years younger than me.
When you say enough, what do you mean more specifically?
Well, there was always enough food. Right?
Enough food. But then also to bring it up, so not to take over the conversation, again, because
your input's valued.
Because I was an only child when shit went down, and I had to fight it was just me. There wasn't anyone protecting me. There wasn't anyone to have my back. But, you know, Gordy, who did you have to protect? You know, who did you wanted to be bigger, you wanted to be stronger, you wanted to be this, that.
Well, when I was young, I wanted to protect myself, right? It was, like I said, my sister was way younger. She was 6 years younger, so there was really no, like, when we were young, we were never at the same school or none of that. For me, it was, no one likes being a little fat kid that gets picked on.
Right.
Right? So you either take it two ways. You keep eating and you be lazy, or you keep eating because the food's there and we're the generation of finish your food. Exactly. Don't leave anything on your plate.
Yep.
But you work out harder. You get in the sports, and for me it was football and wrestling and doing all those where you could go harder and you could actually start to see the benefits as you start to get older.
But then the same question to you, Heath. Like, did you have to protect anybody, or were you protected, or how did that play out?
We'll get to that. So Gord, where do you remember a specific time or place when that finally hit you, that you wanted to? Because this is what I want to do, and I'll get to that when it's my turn, but shove shit in people's faces. Do you remember when that was?
I could probably say it was, what's the last grade in elementary school? Fifth,
yeah, I think.
Fifth grade.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You are the weird one. It was fifth grade, and I got in an argument with this kid that was smaller than me that had been picking on me.
Yeah.
His argument that was WWE was real, and mine was that it wasn't, and he showed me that it was real.
That's a worthwhile argument
right?
to have,
like,
mind you.
You get tossed in a headlock and held there by a smaller guy. You're like, oh, I'm not having this anymore.
So are you saying you put him?
No, he threw me in a head and arm.
Oh, he threw. Okay.
He
He did that to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's it's elementary school. Everybody's watching, and you're trapped under this.
And so it's like as a bigger guy, you're sort of letting this happen.
No, I was a fat little kid, and I wasn't strong. It was
okay.
I got embarrassed, and it you go through that most of your life getting picked on. You're like, screw this, I'm gonna go harder. When you start getting older and you realize that weights are beneficial, and you go through that.
When did that start? Like was it pretty immediately after that?
The following summer, they had this thing called athletic development at Kennel Kai, and it was all the younger kids would come and they'd start learning to lift weights, and they were coached by the football players.
So time period, we're still...
It was close. It's
like middle schoolish.
Yeah, it was the summer between elementary school and sixth grade.
Okay.
And you start lifting weights with the high schoolers that are big football players, and you want to be like them. You don't know any better. Like, the only superstars you know are the high school football players, at least in this area.
Oh yeah, same. Where I grew up.
And then every following summer, I did that until I was in high school, and I would go down there and help. So it's you get enough verbal and physical torture as a little fat kid, drives you to go harder. At least for me, it did. So
what? So along with that. Do you remember, along with that, was there a time or period that either coincided with that or came later where you started to use food as a coping mechanism?
Well, it's always kind of a coping mechanism when when you're young. No.
Yeah.
It drives you to change things.
But doing a muscle up versus a pull up, I mean, I can do pull ups. I can't even fathom doing a muscle up. Like, the muscles that go into that movement alone is super impressive.
I don't know how to take compliments well, so...
Well, then just deal with it. Just deal with it. Now, welcome to my world.
Yeah, right. So kind of getting through that, Gordy, like how, like I asked you, like that, the place you are now, where in the space in between,
No, he already did.
what went on?
He was saying restart the timer.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
That place in between, what, so from, what's changed from that Gordon to this Gordon?
Well, it has to be the internet, right? Because the proliferation of nutritional knowledge that you can find just in a couple minutes on YouTube or whatever.
But that stuff aside, you had to do some, and sorry, and I don't mean to discount that. What, like, inside? What?
Well,
if that's comfortable.
I don't know that there was any singular moment that, you know, as you get older, there's just things that, you know, change inside, and you want to make yourself better. And it's taking food and not making it a trauma. It's making it a positive, just by changing little things.
Like, give me.
Was it that mindset of longevity?
Yeah, that plays a role.
Yeah.
That plays a role, right? When you almost die, you're like, maybe I should change a couple things.
Exactly.
like what you were talking about, right?
It's
Well,
not
let's talk
like
about then.
it's not like mortality to make you rethink.
So was your cancer a galvanizing moment in that aspect?
Well, yeah, you start thinking about longevity. You know, I'm lucky enough to be married to an awesome person that also wants me to live longer.
Michelle McCleary, and by the way, we are going to start having her on.
She's watching.
I've already talked about it. I'm going to have it called the Michelle Minute.
Is that where she's just going to talk a bunch of shit about me?
You get 60 seconds, Michelle.
He's so stupid, and I have to deal with him all the time.
Well, also, I want to ever talk about dogs for Mikey's chance, but also broaden her platform that she has. Because I know she addresses a lot of the same issues we were doing on this podcast, and
she's made
extra.
So many profound changes in her life, which I'm super proud of, and it drives me to want to be better.
And I think that's what I was looking for.
Can we get a round of applause for Michelle?
Yes, Michelle McCleary, stand and be recognized, Captain a day to come. That's what they called on William Wallace, and I mean, it's High Protector of Scotland or something. I don't know. It seemed appropriate. I got caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
But and that's maybe one of the things I was looking for is, like, we do get inspirations from other people. Yeah. And you guys have been together for how long?
17-ish years. She's probably gonna yell at me now. I'm gonna have to go home. Look at the wall where our wedding certificate is, so I can get the actual date. I know it's in February sometime. Of
all those tattoos, and you can't hide a date in your arm, like you.
But then one of my. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, like hide it somewhere better, bro.
It's gonna be hidden on my hand.
Yeah. Well, that's not hidden.
So
it's every animal needs a trainer, and she's been a good trainer. Right? Food-wise, tell me what I need to hear.
How have you guys kind of going through like a similar journey, although taking very different routes? Tell me about that.
Well, when she comes on, she can talk about her route. I know one of the things that had to change for me, which going into this last couple years trying to change the diet thing, is I was like Chris, like it wasn't a whole family that I was cooking for. It was for me and Michelle. And I like it. It's one of my favorite things. I'm off. She's working. I get to research some kind of food, and I get to make it during the day, and she could come home and eat it. Well, with the way her journey's gone, she doesn't get to do that anymore. So I've had to learn how to just scale back, make food for just me. And I'm not even that successful at that. I just try to portion it a little bit better.
You're a pretty damn good cook. One of the things that's helped me is that I'm inept in the kitchen. So it's ladies, I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's I know I'm come off as a total package, but I cannot. Alas, I cannot cook. I'm sorry.
He can't boil water though.
Barely.
He can burn water. That's more impressive.
I stare at the water; it never boils. The so. Like where you're at right now with food. Tell me about that.
Well, like I said before, I'm still not good at portioning, but I try to eat better because I know it's going to be better for me in the future.
Can I reframe my question?
Yeah,
real quick. Sorry. In your relationship with food, how often does that voice of those people that fucked with you still come back? And what
every day when
how do you work through that?
Well, it's like when you fall off the train.
Yeah,
it's never the end, right? You can always run next to it and hop back on.
Right.
And every time I'm like being a pig and overeating and eating shit that I don't need, like 3 Snickers ice cream bars because I don't know how to eat one.
Hey, dude, those are delicious.
They're so delicious.
100% on that.
Yeah, it's like you walk by them, they're there.
It's
they're delicious.
100% on
no, it's
on what?
So I spent so much time beating myself up when I overindulged in something, and it felt like, I take a step forward and then it's 3 steps back because I decide to overindulge, and it feels like, oh, I'm starting over now.
Yeah,
but it took that mindset that no, I'm not starting over. This is where I'm at. I can keep going.
You're just hopping back on the train.
Yeah,
and that's a healthy way to deal with that. And that's it's kind of funny. We mentioned earlier the correlations and the parallels of food being a drug, because having gone through treatment myself on a few occasions, that comes up often. And that's one thing that addicts eventually just give up, because they will relapse. They will go back, and there's kind of just this like, well, I guess I am the fuck up everybody said.
It's funny when you research it. The thing that hits dopamine levels that aren't illicit drugs is porn and food. Like when you look at those, the things that hit dopamine levels the highest,
Dude,
porn and food.
Specifically, they did a study on McDonald's. And McDonald's food hits the dopamine levels of cocaine.
Yeah.
And that high fat, that high sugar, like that shit.
Yeah, and I know a lot of it has to do with the massive amounts of, like, even in their meat, there's massive amounts of high fructose corn syrup.
Right, so evolutionarily, that made sense. But in America, specifically, it doesn't make sense. But they know how to get it.
Like, when you think about it, like, you walk down the streets of Portland and you see a crackhead, and you realize this person is on drugs. They are looking for drugs to feed their dopamine levels, right?
Yeah.
But then, okay, so this is an illegal substance. That is a crackhead. That is a criminal, right? But then you go to Pornhub. That is the next highest dopamine hit for most.
Or you walk by a donut shop and there's a bunch of fat people in there buying dozens of donuts.
And the idea behind that, to me, is insane. That those are the things that hit your dopamine levels the highest.
Just get a little closer.
Porn and food. But, so yeah, it's just the idea behind that. The whole eating or overindulging in whatever it may be, or porn.
Yeah, and there's that's a great topic, to address at a different time. If anyone followed me on my previous Instagram account or on this one, I'm a big advocate of sex workers. There is it with the think a lot of it comes down to availability. Is that porn and food have proliferated so much and are so easily accessible. I think those are some easy, quick fixes, for lack of a better word.
No.
To get to a certain place.
Right now, how many 24-hour restaurants can you get to from your house?
Seems like there's more and more every year.
And that's the thing. Is
but anyway, thanks a lot for sharing, Gordon.
Welcome, Heath.
I appreciate you. So we'll take one last quick break, and then I'll come back. And now
We all get to watch you cry.
I'll have to share
because Luke is an android and has no issues with
I thought
anything.
for sure I was going to get to talk, but no.
No, of course.
Wait, you
I
have something?
No.
Oh,
No, you just want to make me feel guilty.
no. So
You know I'm a Jew, Luke. You
So can
son of
we
a
just
bitch.
pelt him with questions until he cracks?
Yeah, you go ahead.
We could do that.
Okay.
You're
We
going
could.
to get it on food, I promise you that.
We could triple team him.
We're going to be here forever.
Ooh. I think
I
triple
have
team
faith
is
in your
also
resolve.
called the gangbang. If you're
That's,
the official word for that.
but we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and we'll kind of. I didn't know we were going to have this opportunity, but we will step into the mind of a murderer, or Luke. But
Probably the same.
and I'll talk about some of the stuff about myself. I've actually been looking forward to this because some of these things are things that have held me back personally because of the reaction I've gotten from other people that I've shared them with. And it's I know it's not the most awesome place to share them with your friends for the first time, but
I'm gonna go on a.
it's how I decided to do it.
This is my personal opinion, but fuck other people.
Yeah.
Sorry, just.
Well, when you get older, it's easier to say.
I know it is, isn't it? This is where I'm at now. This is my.
I'm finding that it's just harder to fuck other people.
Whoa.
But it's
Well, that's.
Shut the
Wait.
fuck up.
That sounds like a
other
lie.
people are. Never mind. Let it go.
Oh, look, I'm
People
a model.
in
I can't
quotes.
get laid.
People in
Blah,
quotes.
Blah, blah, blah,
Okay, guys. Okay, I'm gonna
Thirst
stop it
trap
on here.
Photos on Instagram.
You guys hang
Look, I
out.
have an OnlyFans. Can't have sex.
Remember,
Look at me, my tight shirt. I just got done working out.
just remember the live is still going. Just,
I got muscles on this to
You have
attack
10
Luke.
minutes. Do your worst. Go ahead.
okay, folks. So we've gone through everybody. We're now
All the humans.
addressing the artificial intelligence we have in the form of our friend Luke.
Get risen with the tism, baby.
And is he plugged in? I don't want him to power down. while we're-
No, he's good. He's charging.
Okay. All right.
It's like Daft Punk. He's charging.
He brought his solar panel. He's charging off these fucking bright lights.
He's good.
Luke, tell me about your mother.
Dude, my mother is the sweetest lady.
She is.
I still haven't met her. Oh yeah, no, this is anger in my face right now.
I haven't met your mother either. Shut the fuck up.
Well, my mother lives 3,000 miles away. That's what I thought, bitch.
Yeah, they visit us at the same frequency. Every 2 to 3 years.
How close is yours again?
She only comes over every 2 to 3 years.
That was.
No, that wasn't the question. How close is she?
Just past Y-Pass.
So it would take us less than 3 hours
Do you
to
wanna
get to
go?
her.
We got weekends coming up. We'll go.
To explain to you guys what's going on is Chris is using a tactic of
Psychological warfare.
having the guise of asking Luke poignant questions, but really throwing shade.
Yes. No, it is.
And when used appropriately, it is a brilliant technique.
I've had this used against me in relationships.
Is that what people refer to as gaslighting?
Thank you. Yes, it
Still don't
is.
know what that
It
fucking
is.
means, dude.
Because
Well,
I don't
no.
know.
No, when you say people, I think you mostly mean girls. I'm sorry, don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did that. That's my fault. Okay, no. But at the same time, my mother, 3,000 miles away, maybe once every 3 years.
My mom too.
His mother, less than 3 hours away.
I just have one thing to say, people. They've all met my mom.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Oh, she's not.
I haven't met your mom
right, so
or
give
your
me-
girlfriend.
That was before the zoo gave you.
First up, wait.
police.
Whoa. Don't
I didn't even know you're seeing anybody until I got this.
stop. Don't
You're the
throw out-
one person that I'll never introduce
Don't
you to.
throw out He
No,
hasn't met her. And it's not. Don't. Yes, let's scare her away before
Yeah. All right.
the
So
opportunity. Thank you, Gordon.
How do you know I'm going to scare her?
even though his mom's 3,000 miles away, when my mom was only 200 miles away, we lost track of both my parents for like 2 to 3 weeks. Nobody could reach them.
Like they disappeared?
Oh, they were home. They just didn't care to answer the phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not a big deal. In my
When I
family,
don't do
these
that
things
with
happen.
my own mom for 6 hours, I get texts. Are you still alive?
Yeah, no, I got a text from I got a call from my older sister say, hey, I can't reach mom and dad. And I said, oh, they're probably having a good time. Don't worry about it. She's like, it's been a week, and I was like, well, they've probably had a good time for a week. Like, don't
Whenever
worry
I
about
get a call from my mom, she tells me all the people that have died.
it. Jesus, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting old. This
So-
is life.
Our mothers are very similar.
So we called every restaurant they frequent, and finally reached a restaurant that was like, oh yeah, they were in here yesterday. And like, well, next time they come in there, can you have them call one of their kids, like proof of life? And they did. And that's how I grew up. Anyhow, what's going on? What are we talking about?
Well, that's
Talk
good.
about trauma, Luke.
Yeah, I don't have that.
We're talking
I'm sorry,
about.
I don't want to ruin the show. Like you guys are all doing great, but like I don't.
We're talking about food.
Oh,
as
dude,
well,
my mom
Luke.
made the best food.
So there was no trauma behind that.
No, dude, besides
No?
veggie plate.
There were okay.
Sucks dick,
Let's
dude.
talk about veggie.
I hate vegetables.
all
fuck
of them.
No lima beans.
Why? Let's get
Well,
into that,
one,
please.
they're gross and shouldn't be consumed by humans. That's mostly like dog food.
So there was no traumatic event that associated lima beans with it.
No, they just taste gross.
I don't even I
they're
haven't had
just
lima
bad
beans
food.
in so long. I can't even
Wait,
remember.
so how were your lima beans
I
prepared?
haven't ever seen him eat a vegetable.
Steamed?
I think
eat
I have.
broccoli.
No, he ate
I've
my
never seen
Brussels.
you eat broccoli.
He ate my Brussels sprouts.
Oh,
True.
dude, Brussels sprouts are dope.
Friends game.
Yeah,
But
you
those
know,
like the
Brussels
way
sprouts.
Chris makes vegetables. It's not really vegetables.
dude, he could probably trick
There's
me
just
into
enough
thinking
vegetable.
cauliflower
It's not that bad.
I don't. I'm not saying
They were
it's bad.
still
They're
healthy.
delicious. But it's like it reminds me of like one of my best friends, Gabe. Growing up, his mom would do Brussels sprouts in a similar fashion to you would, and there was so much bacon and whatnot
yeah, that
involved in
counts.
it that the bacon was really the star of the
See,
meal, and the
my-
Brussels sprout was
my
like
Brussels sprouts
a
did
co-star.
not have bacon.
No, his Brussels sprouts are dope.
But
Don't you? I thought you put bacon
No.
in. No,
No, it's the
no,
texture.
nope.
that's your
Just-
collard greens.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
my
and,
collard
the,
greens has
and the
bacon.
seasoning in
Yeah.
these Brussels sprouts.
See,
is-
but
Do you
like,
make your own seasoning?
I want to say, duh. Yes.
Chris, I'm not a smart man, so just tell me what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
I make my own seasoning. But no, all right. So Luke,
what?
lima beans.
Terrible. Bad
Steamed?
food. It doesn't matter.
No, because and this is the thing I was talking about earlier. The whole difference when that. So
I think they were boiled
His
back,
lima-
back in the day.
okay. So yeah,
They were bad.
mine were. God, I hate to say it like this.
When your
But-
mom would make beans,
It was with
would
in a-
she soak them for a few days?
Yes,
like
it
old
was in
school?
a
Yeah.
pot,
Same.
ham hocks.
Yeah.
Boiled. You know, almost to the point where it's almost like refried beans.
Yeah, same.
Right. But did yours come out of that freezer bag? and then steamed with all the other.
That's what we ate in California when we were poor. Fruits bags.
Okay, but that was your traumatic experience with food, and that's the crazy thing. I don't think I've ever seen Luke look at or see a food that's like, this is horrible.
Oh, it was bad.
Or I don't want this, or this triggers something. No, really.
Well,
like,
he's very polite.
But still, honestly, have you... All right.
Everything's the greatest thing ever.
No, but Gordon, have you ever put anything in... Have you ever put anything in front of Luke that he didn't eat?
No.
Neither have I. Have you?
He doesn't cook.
Well, he was close.
But
But even... No. So, even...
Just want to bring back trauma.
I was
Even-
looking for a way to remove myself, and you did it for me. Thank you.
Even when I made those beans for Cinco de Mayo, you know, at still no point did he just go, no, this isn't... I've never seen him look at anything and go, this isn't for me, or watched him overeat.
Funny story. I was in college, freshman year, and one of the people I'd known for, the entire time I'd known them, 6 to 9 months, they're like, you're always happy about food. And I was like, well, yeah, food is good. And they're like, there's nothing you don't like? And I was like, well, I mean, what's this, 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh,
Actually,
I've run over my... All right, so I defer to ovens. That was enough for me. I did my time. I did my 10 minutes. I'm good.
No, keep going, dude.
Oh, but yeah, so, I've always been like, yeah, food's food. Food's good. Besides veggie plate. Veggie plate sucks dick. Lime beans are terrible. But besides that, dude, you want put something in front of me?
We thought the same thing.
What's that?
We just went in a different direction.
Are you pulling lights off the wall over there? Or?
Yes, you are.
Oh,
God damn it, Gordon.
Jesus,
Oh,
you fucking
man.
gorilla.
This is why we can't invite you anywhere.
My God.
Oh, man.
I mean, we...
Oh, you freaking just...
God damn, that's impressive.
I'm most impressed. Anyhow, food's not a thing for me. Like, and I don't downplay anybody else's struggles, but at the same time, it is what it is. Don't claim struggles
It's
you don't have.
funny enough, though, we had this conversation up at Mount Hood.
Which one?
When you, me, and Tommy.
Oh yeah, it was a good
We were
time.
talking about trauma.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
we had that dive bar in Mount Hood, the old school section.
it was amazing because they poured drinks like they didn't know any better.
They poured drinks like alcohol was free, and they were charging for the mixer.
It was
Jesus.
amazing. But at the end of the day, I forgot exactly what I said, but my mindset is, as far as trauma goes, because everyone has different experiences, which is why I brought up our different backgrounds. We all process trauma differently.
Right.
So I can't see trauma through the same lens as, say, Gordon or you or Luke. Because my trauma, the way I process it, the way I see it, the way I understand it, is different for me versus other people. Because Luke kept saying, I don't have trauma, I don't understand trauma, I don't see trauma. And it's like, I get that from his perspective, but it's just because he's lived a different life than me.
Right. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with not necessarily shared experiences, but shared feelings.
Yeah.
Of what feeling something elicited.
But even then, it's like you said, it's shared feelings. Even then, I had this conversation with you not too long ago. As growing up, teenagers,
Yeah.
if at 17, if at 17 you were caught out and about drinking beer.
I remember that conversation.
Yeah. You were caught out and about drinking beer, by officers so-and-so. They'll be like, well, we don't want to ruin Heath's life. Let's call his parents and just send him home.
Not even that. Call his parents and tell him what a great kid he is.
Yeah. But whereas if I was caught at 17 out in the park drinking beer, I got a charge.
Yeah.
And it's just different circumstances, different, like, we can get into this in other podcasts, which we probably definitely will be. But my trust for police when I was younger was not there just because of my experiences with police when I was younger. Because I was this is a phrase I use. I wasn't a thug, but I was definitely thug adjacent.
Adjacent. I love that. I love that.
I was not a thug, but I was thug adjacent. I was a thug in training. I was learning
the
ways. I was learning the ways of thugs. So my interactions with any kind of authority figure was negative.
Right.
So so like high school age, growing up, if I got caught doing something bad, I'm going to jail. Whereas if you got caught doing something bad, we don't want to ruin his life. Let's send him home.
Yeah, I'm always commended for it. Yeah. It's a strange dichotomy. But
I think that has a lot to do with bigger city, smaller city, regional, so north, south, east, west.
Well, I mean, let's just say what it is. I mean, race.
I was going to bring that into it.
Let's just
also,
call it what it is.
But no, it's crazy. So I'll say that, but at the same time, when I got older, I remember one time walking down the street. I was playing football. I was known, and an officer who knew me because I was also working at the time. So he knew me from working. He knew me from playing football. Pulled over, brought up his speaker, and he was like, "Chris, make sure you get home safe." And then he pulled away.
Well, that was sweet of him.
Yeah, and that was so it's like it's those experiences that changes your mindset, because I spent so many years believing I couldn't trust.
And it can just take one.
Yeah.
Like you referenced.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I spent so many years believing I couldn't trust the police because, one, I'm black, and all they want to do is arrest me.
Yeah.
And then, two, I'm poor. So no one cares
that's a horrible combination, being poor and black.
Yeah. It was like, so no one cared about me. So at the same time, that mindset, it was, who can I trust?
Right.
So again, just the differences in backgrounds, the way we grew up, the people we are, which to me is still one of the funniest things about the fact that we are here together. Because I can honestly say that for any of you assholes, and I will call you assholes.
And we are assholes.
Oh, I will definitely call you assholes. There's not anything I wouldn't do for any of you assholes if you called me in the middle of the night. If I got a call from Gordon at 3 o'clock in the morning, he's like, "Hey, I need you to come over right now." I'm not going to say why or what for or whatever. It's like, "Hey, I'm just waking up. I'll be there in 20 minutes.
I think of that scene in Ben
Affleck?
It was Ben Affleck movie where he just like shows up at his buddy's house and it was like, "We're gonna do shit," and he's like, "Perfect,"
Hey, whose car are we gonna take? Yeah,
yeah,
100%. But that's the mindset now. It's let me just.
You're doing very well.
But
You're
that's the
time.
mindset now. That's where I'm at as shit. However old I am. Shut up, Gordy. Don't tell them. It's none of their business.
29.
I'm an old man. It's none of their business. But no, that's the mindset I am as an old. Because, growing up, again, thug adjacent, it was don't snitch, don't tell anybody, don't do this, don't do that. And it was never about what is beneficial for me. It was always what helped the other person, no matter what. But when you get into true friendship, your friends won't put you in a position that will harm you unless it's that serious.
Thank you for mentioning that, because that is bring an air of legitimacy to a friendship. Like when someone is, like, let's say if someone's on a fucking drug bender or something like that, and you're like, let's keep going, to where someone that actually cared about you would be like, no, dude, you need to.
I think I sent you all a funny video about that.
It's funny, it's funny and cool that you're partying and stuff like that, but you need to fucking pump the brakes. And yeah, and that's really important to bring up, and that's something that we all need from our friends, because that's when they do that, that's a galvanizing moment, and that shows us that they actually care.
No.
Yeah.
Like even with this, like even with the live stream, I don't want to be on camera. Mm-hmm. And you went out of your way to make sure I wasn't on camera.
I respect the shit out of that.
Unless Gory,
have to.
Gory thought it was funny to try to accidentally put me on camera. But Gory's an asshole. But I still love him. But he also understands I don't like being on camera. Same thing with Luke. Like, again, is polarizing our... You having fun there?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to sort it out.
It's figuring my situation out.
It's like when you look at, like, honestly, look at all of our different backgrounds and who we are as people, as polarizing that is. Mm-hmm. The fact that we are all friends, we can sit here together, have this conversation, no arguments, have an actual conversation is, to me, amazing.
Well, that's very good nowadays anywhere. Just a conversation.
No, and that's the thing. Right. Most people, it's always about the loudest voice in the room.
And that's a real good thing. I'm reading this great book right now called Super Communicators.
Are you reading it or listening to it?
Both. I get.
He forces everybody to listen to it on the way in.
That's a good question. I generally get one as a companion to the other. It kind of just helps. Like,
see, but that question right there, true friendship.
Yeah, it shows that he knows me. It shows that he knows me.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
And but that's a massive part of it in what Chris Duhigg, says in the book, and it's incredibly important to recognize that we're having the same conversation. Exactly. And
exactly.
And how that's important, and the only way we can have the same, quote unquote conversation is to check in with each other and be honest.
Exactly.
And that's the value of that is massive.
And I'm gonna honestly say, I'm happy that you were ready to do this again. I've missed this.
I do too.
I've missed this conversation, this camaraderie, this being who we can be without any pretenses, any pretending, any fakeness. I miss this. He's no. See, this is why I'm not fakeness. In front of. This is why I'm not in front of the camera.
I mean,
if I start tearing up right now, Gordy's gonna judge me. But I've
not
missed,
that much.
Only a little.
Bitch, please. I've missed this. I missed this opportunity.
I have too, and it's because it's like, let's be honest, that when we get to this age, it's tough to get together. It's more difficult to stay in touch with each other, know what's going on in each other's lives, and bank some stuff to learn more about each other. It becomes more difficult the older you get, and so it becomes more important.
It's tough to speak your mind because the world wants to tell you how you feel, what you feel doesn't matter. And this is something we've talked about before.
Or the opposite of that, of it doesn't matter, or or the opposite side of that, it matters. It
doesn't
should matter too much.
It doesn't matter. How
And
many people in this room has heard the phrase "man up"?
Oh God, fuck.
Everybody has.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which tells you, as a man, your feelings don't matter. Like, you got a little emotional at the beginning of this, whereas most people would tell you.
I'm going to get emotional again.
Well, most people would tell you to man up, as if your feelings don't. This is my release. The one and a few times I was able to get semi-emotional was in this group, because most people would not care about my feelings. And then the thing, especially growing up, the thing I like dealing with whatever I was dealing with, the phrase was always, well, man up, deal with it, do what you gotta do, man up.
Yeah, we call that "don't be a bitch about it" now.
Exactly.
Or as Chris, you're a young black male. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's very young.
Do
Very young.
Yeah.
Do you know what that does to a mindset when that's what you hear?
I know it does to mine. I know yours is unique, just because I know my own is
to a smaller. I won't even say small. To an extent, when you hear your feelings don't matter. That's what you hear when you hear the phrase "man up, deal with it." It is what it is.
I agree.
Do you know what that does to a mindset?
It kills your soul.
It does. 100%. And to hear people who I regard to a higher extent willing to listen, except for Luke, but willing.
I listen just fine. Thank
You're
you.
a
very much.
robot.
For
Whatever.
a soulless
But-
person, he does listen
Yeah,
very
exactly.
well. Yeah.
But
He at least acts like he's
to
listening.
hear what I have to say, and it's not even a matter about saying that this matters or I care about your feelings in this certain aspect, but to just willing to hear what I have to say.
Just being there, being present, being in the moment.
Speaks volumes.
Yeah.
When you spend so much of your time basically hearing no one cares, man up, deal with it.
Dude, I love this. That you took that and just ran with it. And that means a massive amount to me, because it shows the comfort level that we all have with each other, and that just reinforces that it was my own brilliance to bring us all together.
I still refuse to cry in front of Gordy because he's going to judge me.
I'll never cry.
Yeah,
Anybody but
Judge
my
you
wife.
that much?
But that, yeah, and guys, I hope you listen. I hope you really listened to what Chris said, because there's a lot of weight to that, and it's there's something that kind of resonates to me from what he said. And Simon Sinek, a great speaker, a great author, mentions this in one of his books, The Power of Why. And it's not exactly what Chris is saying, but I can relate this to it. When someone stops you and asks you how your day is going, that they really stop and wait to listen. It's not just like a passing thing, is that they actually care.
Well, it's nice to have people that actually care versus people making it a part of conversation. How you doing? They don't want to know.
Yeah.
It's a greeting as you pass.
Yeah, and yeah.
That's normal life. That's,
But let's not get off topic, because we've dealt with the Android for the most part.
Hi.
Now it's time to get into the meat and potatoes.
All right. I should probably stop it and start it.
You might as well because you're in.
So, this was a thing that had a lot of twists and turns. So that, like I said, I was in fifth grade when that happened. From the summer between fifth and sixth grade, I stumbled upon this article in Sports Illustrated about Herschel Walker. He was, I know now people, he's like a point of, the butt of a lot of jokes, but he was
a beast.
One of the most amazing athletes of his time.
He was a beast.
An Olympian, an incredible, NFL football player. And the article went on and talked about that he didn't lift weights, but the article went on and talked about what his workouts were for a day. And he did something like 2,000 pull-ups, 5,000 sit-ups, and 3,000 push-ups a day.
Yeah.
And I read that, and so that summer between going to fifth and sixth grade, I stayed at my my aunt's in the summer in Walla Walla because my mom would go back to school to finish up her master's.
Shout out to Walla Walla.
Yeah, Walla, Washington.
It's not a joke at Looney Tunes.
As seen in every Bugs Bunny cartoon.
And I read that article, and I started to do that. I would go. I started running like a few hundred yards at a time. So like I said, I was a really, really fat kid. Do as many push-ups as I could. I'd take breaks, and I would do that throughout the entire day. Every time I was watching TV and a commercial came on, I'd get up and do some sit-ups, do some push-ups, run around the block. And I got up to the point, like, I can't remember the pull-ups and the push-ups and stuff, but I got to the point where I was doing about 2,000 sit-ups a day. And that also coincided with I hit a really big growth spurt and kind of started to grow into like the guy I am now. And the lucky thing for me at that time was that I was going into a sport that encouraged a healthy relationship with food. That would become difficult later on in life when things completely changed, that I got into a line of work that was not conducive with a good relationship with food at all.
Amen.
And so it was really easy going through that and kind of talking about like our trauma. It was always very, very difficult with my dad not being there. I always felt like there was something missing. And I don't want to have this conversation without mentioning the amazing role that my Uncle Dan, my Uncle Jim, my Uncle Eric, my Uncle Bill, all the
male
my
influences you had throughout your life.
Some amazing boyfriends that my mother had, and that played. They didn't fill that role, but they played stopgaps. And
that's important. It really is. It's important.
And so this worked perfectly for me, because in my mind, I brought this up, I think, to you, I think to you when we were talking about building.
That would be Gordy because he's off camera.
A suit of armor, so to speak, about getting as big and as strong as like you possibly could. And so I wanted to just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and indestructible. And that kind of galvanized itself. Like my last year, I got really heavy into... I had my first catastrophic knee injury and got really heavy into anabolic steroids. And use those to the extent to where.
Do you think being a guy, a cis male played a lot into that mindset? Whereas as a guy, you felt, I need to be this.
Yes. I get what you're asking, and yes, it completely did. I wanted to be like some bastardized mix of like, Conan the Barbarian, and my favorite offensive lineman at the time was Jackie Slater for the Rams, and dude played for offensive tackle for like 22 years. It was Hall of Famer. Right?
Mine is John Lynch, but okay, we'll give it up.
And yeah, that did play a huge role, because that's I thought I saw being as like big and strong and massive as like
was that mindset
the ultimate of masculinity.
Was that mindset you're a guy, rub some dirt on it, get back to it?
I think it was more of, if I keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I can not only protect myself, but I can protect anybody else from going through what I was feeling. And
amen to that.
The tough thing is that, because I was at a point where I was eating, because again, my relationship with food encouraged.
No, it was eat as much as you can, get as big as you can, right?
Right. And that all came kind of crashing down when I had my last catastrophic knee injury, and I tried to make a comeback. And my the head football coach at the time, Rob Smith, brought me to his office and was like, "Hey, we're going to keep you on scholarship, but you just can't help us anymore."
So was that the point your relationship with food changed?
Almost. It I spent a few days in massively depressed, contemplated suicide, just because everything about my identity was wrapped up in being a football player.
No, it is what it is. No, I get that. 100%.
And luckily, after going through that, I think at just about my lowest point, and I remember this, of sitting in the house me and my buddies rented in college on Lake Whatcom, and was watching like a VH1 Where Are They Now kind of shit, and it had the Monkees on there, and that song Daydream Believer came on.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly what it triggered, but I started to remember other things I was good at. And I really got, when I was a much younger man, I was really into choir and theater, and was in a bunch of choir competitions and shit like that. And I kind of remembered that, like, hey, I think that was the first time it dawned on me that like there's other things I have that have value, and
not to change the subject, but Heath, what was your major in college?
Musical theater and political science.
Gordy?
Criminal justice.
Luke?
Oh, I spent 6 years getting a tier degree. I got an associate's in applied science.
And mine was also criminal justice, which again brings up the differences in backgrounds and who we are as people.
Right.
But please continue.
Let's see, where was I?
Theater, you're about to start talking about how you got into...
When you realized there was something that you could do different.
Thank you. So I I called around and got the phone number of my high school drama teacher, Terry Grimes, one of the most incredible, influential women in my entire life, because she started to instill in this when I was taking classes, because I didn't start this stuff. I did the choir and shit like that my whole life. The theater stuff I didn't start getting into until my junior and senior year. I had one of my really good friends, Devin. His dad was the dean of the theater department at Western Washington University. And he got us into, they had this thing called summer stock where they'd put on all these plays. And he would always put Devin in them. And he had me come audition for one time, and I got in. That's kind of when I started to fall in love with that. But so I called Terry, and Terry's husband, Alton Grimes, who's passed away, was running a theater out in a semi-professional theater out in a town called Linden, Washington, called the Queen Juliana Theater. And she called her husband and said, I know you've got your cast set for this upcoming play, but you need to audition this kid. And I went out there, and I still remember the song I auditioned for was that I used to audition. It was I don't know who originally did it, but Tony Bennett did a song, Plenty of Money in You. And I just, everything clicked. I nailed it, and I got the role of Daddy Warbucks on like a 30 show set of Annie. And that's kind of when, because football was over, that's kind of when it also hit me that I didn't want to be the goon and limit myself to what I could play. And so I went on this crazy diet, and kind of answer your question earlier, that's really when my relationship with food became very complicated.
Yeah.
And that's between, this is my junior year in college. So between my junior and senior year in college, I lost 100 pounds.
So where would you say you're at now?
Complicated. And getting there was interesting, because that's when all this started to coincide. Like, a lot of these things came to fruition at the same time. It's I was acting, I dropped a ton of weight, you know, I was looking really good. It's probably the best I've looked ever, you know, remembering back. And I was working at this video store in college, and I walked out to this, there's an espresso place out on the corner, in this kind of mini mall kind of shit, you know?
Yeah.
And this guy stopped me, and he's like, hey, I've got a gallery, and it sounds super shady. He's like, hey, I've got a gallery art opening coming out. I would really like to shoot you. And I was like, okay. I was like, because I needed some headshots done and stuff like that anyways. So, and he's like, yeah, I'll do those if you do this for me. So I went and shot for him, and he had connections with a couple of reputable agencies in Seattle. And so my life was shifting very quickly from one spectrum of like ultra masculinity to this sort of new uncharted territory of, you know, being really comfortable with your body, and you're dealing, you know, sort of with your sexuality in a different way.
So
I guess if
so how did food play
because
into that?
because now all of a sudden I mentioned identity earlier. is now my identity had shifted completely to, because again, I'm a young man and we don't necessarily have the emotional or mental capacity to, I mean, we probably do, we just choose not to use it. I shifted my new identity to be like, you need to now look like this. Right. And so my relationship with food became, you just don't eat. And that was the beginning of one of the many eating disorders I accumulated.
So it was more transactional than it was...
Yeah, else. In a matter of speaking. Yeah, I think so.
The way you started taking on, you were starting to see results that were positive in the current direction you were going.
Right, and I started to get lower and lower. I think my lowest, I got my body fat down to 2.8%.
So at that,
I was 6'5" and 190 pounds.
So at that point, when it came to consumption, were you happy, or was it just
no? Everything was, and this is also kind of when, like, the alcoholism kind of started to
play
into it. Also, like, I always found ways to work in vodka, but besides that, it was strictly, this is the only thing I ate from 2001 to 2006. Spinach, egg whites, and chicken breasts. And
I only ask that because I've noticed, again, we talk about Friendsgiving and being around each other. When it comes to eating and enjoying each other's cooking, there's no question about it. It is what it is. There's no, well, how many grams of fat is in this, or this, that, or the other is, oh, Gordon made this. He made steak skewers with mozzarella and tomato and balsamic vinegar. This motherfucker made a balsamic vinegar glaze. Get the fuck out of here.
It was delicious.
Get out of here.
I'm always trying to impress you guys.
But, so no, that's why I like that mindset when it comes to food versus where you want to be at this point in time.
It's really difficult because, and my heart goes out to, because back when I was doing that, when I got set up with my first big modeling agency down in Los Angeles, the people in your, like, quote unquote community, like, some of them are eating, and I'm not exaggerating, wetting down cotton balls and eating them to fill up their stomachs. Some of them had plumbing problems from vomiting, too often, in their houses. But that was also kind of an odd thing in that industry that I hesitate to use the word encouraged, but sort of like a badge of honor of what you would go through to achieve your body type.
Which is one of the differences I bring up as far as...
we're good.
Which is one of the differences I bring up as far as, say, my background and Gordy's background. Because not to take away anything from Gordy, because I love you, Gordy, but we aren't... Take away. Either way, we aren't going to be models unless they're modeling...
Special.
I just gotta go with
Stay
special.
Slightly appropriate. I don't want to get banned on our first date, Gordy.
Unless they're modeling special, But that's. So we go from
more of a niche market.
Yeah.
Either way, but we go from beans casserole to damn near nothing, because your lifestyle fits around.
That's 100%.
Nothing.
because that's 100% of the value that I placed on myself. And in that industry a lot, that's also the value of who manages you, who your agent is, the photographers that photograph you. You're constantly reminded of the flaws in your body.
But then that's why I bring up the whole differences in who we are and why we are doing what we do, and why we're here.
And that's so incredibly important, because I know there's, even with how different my experience was, I know there's still things, because to kind of go back, it's not about necessarily experiences, it's about feelings.
No,
like how you feel about yourself
is just as important.
Yeah. And
100%.
So that's something I still really struggle with today, because you develop this, along with your relationship with food, you develop this, body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you look, you're still, and it's trying to switch that mindset of, not that it was right back then, but one of the most difficult things for me is switching that mindset to, Heath, you don't need to look this way because your career isn't dependent on it. And I really struggle, and I don't blame social media for any of this, but the fitness industry on social media,
they're to blame.
It's very skewed.
All right,
because everyone is on multiple things. There's a difference between health and looking good.
We look at Heath the model, Gordy the Neanderthal, Chris the thug, and Luke
the robot,
the android.
I'm just skinny fat, bro. I'm just here for a good time, not a long
he's
time.
he's very buoyant.
I'm gonna start calling you Mr. Data from Star Trek.
I could feel that.
My nerves will feel that.
Either that or
but
Spock.
no, that is why this conversation, as far as trauma versus food, is so important, because just the vast differences in just it's 4 people in this room, and our vast experiences feed into
they do
so much.
And we
just so
I think
much.
And through having this conversation, I a lot of, like, I don't know if, like, whoever ends up watching the episode, whatever actually fucking records, or whoever is on the live, I know you're very intelligent, so I don't need to point this out to you, but food in a lot of cases is and how we eat and disorders, to a certain matter of speaking, they're metaphors for a lot of things. Like how when I became anorexic and then later on became bulimic, it was a control thing.
All right. So
purging becomes like a purging of your hurt.
It's something you can actually control.
Exactly.
It's
like
you.
And you plan it gets to a point where I know there's some of you out there that have eating disorders currently or have had them in the past. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes, like, your day, your week, or your month is planned around that purging. Like, I remember I would go, there would be one day a week, and it would be on my day off, and I would go on this, I would walk like 4 miles to this fucking donut shop, so I didn't feel as guilty about it, and I'd get a dozen donuts, and I would eat the entire box, and then I would make myself vomit, and I would feel fucking fantastic. And my whole week was planned around that. And I know there's a lot of other people out there that, like, have dealt with that kind of thing, and maybe still currently are. And it wasn't until really in the last maybe few years where I really I think was when we first went into the first iteration of Bored to Death. Was when because I needed to, in order to talk about some of the things we wanted to talk about, in order to come off as the person I wanted to come off as, and there's a lot of imposter syndrome that went along with that. I needed to start working through my shit to at least have a semblance of genuineness.
Normality.
Yeah. And yeah, it's wild because like I said, it's still
Gory, when your mom wants to make you your comfort food, what is it?
Well, currently, like, my death row meal is mashed potatoes, and then my dad does barbecue chicken, and my mom makes a homemade barbecue sauce for the chicken, and that's my go-to. Every time I have a birthday, they're like, "You want to go out to eat?" I'm like, "No, I want Dad to make chicken, and I want Mom to make mashed potatoes," because I also used to get mashed potatoes from my grandma. Mm-hmm. So that's my go-to every time.
Luke?
Oh, dude, my parents stopped cooking like they used to. They got healthy. They don't make any of the shit they used to make. None of it.
So if you had...
Really? Not anything?
No, fucking nothing.
So
dude.
if you had...
They fry every shit in like avocado oil.
If you
and
had that
all,
meal,
like light fat and gluten-free because my mom's gluten-free.
So if you had that meal, what would it be?
Oh, like my favorite meal growing up?
Yeah, your comfort meal.
Oh, shit, dude. Yeah, there's so many things. My dad used to make really good teriyaki chicken wings.
Speak up just a little bit.
Oh, dude, he used to make really good steak.
But you don't get that anymore.
No.
That?
No, I'm good.
But if you went to them and asked them, they probably...
Oh, like what would I pick?
They probably...
Oh, shit,
They would
dude.
probably still make it for you, right?
I suppose so, yeah. I'm sure they do that for me. I don't know. Like, they used to make so much good shit. I never had one comfort food, dude. Teriyaki chicken wings were boss. My dad's steaks were dope. My dad still makes really good steaks, actually.
See? And then we will get...
Working. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, shit, dude. Today, I'd probably pick teriyaki chicken wings. Sound really good right now. I'd take those.
See?
They don't make those anymore, though, but if they did...
And mine is Thanksgiving. Period.
Dude.
No, really.
I have a tragic story about Thanksgiving.
No, period. Thanksgiving. Spatchcock turkey, fried, fucking seafood, dressing, mashed potatoes, gravy, mashed potato or macaroni and cheese. Mm-hmm. That's mine. 100%.
Yeah.
Like big. It's strange. Like big holiday meals sometimes give me anxiety because I know, like, talk about the money thing. Like growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, so
but that was the thing, though. That
I could
was
see
when,
I could feel the stress from
but
my
that
mom.
was when they could splurge. Mm-hmm. That was one of the few times in life, like
I know that, but I could still feel like the stress.
So the first time in life, again in Washington. Where someone was like, "We're having Christmas dinner." Excuse me? Wait,
because that was one of the first experiences you had here, right?
Like someone,
because you told me about how, like, the girl you're seeing, new people.
Yeah, that was my, that was my first Christmas. We didn't do Christmas dinner. We had Thanksgiving. That was our shit. So when they were like, "We're doing Christmas dinner," and someone was like, "Oh, we're doing prime rib." What the fuck is a prime rib? What is?
Little did you know it would change your life after eating it.
I did not know. I did not know. And then it was like, well, because I am who I am. What can I bring? Nothing. Just bring yourself. You're the gift.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't.
It's like, no, don't bring it. You're the gift. Excuse me?
Gift to who? Like, it was
that shit. That doesn't calculate. I'm not good at math.
I've never been a gift my whole life, and you're telling me right now I'm a gift?
Thank
Like,
you.
yeah.
That was something that changed for me as I got older too. As my dad started making a little bit more money, like we always did the classic dry turkey stuff.
Yeah.
And then as my dad got more money, that we started doing prime rib on Christmas, and now it's still
The first time I had prime rib was on the Christmas. And so they were like, just bring yourself. Excuse me? That's no. That's not how it works. So, yeah. That was threw me off.
Okay, I want to go back. Corn chip chicken. That's the shit.
Corn what?
Corn chip chicken.
is that
Chicken thighs.
Describe.
Put them in a baking pan. Cover them with ranch dressing.
Cornish.
Cornish? I don't know.
Cornish.
Corn chip chicken.
No, not corn chip.
And then you take corn.
Chris. Chris, it's the white version.
This is
Okay.
he's talking about crushing chips and
And then-
breading the chicken with
You've
chips.
never done this? Oh yeah. So chicken
You're thinking
thighs.
of Cornish game hens, which are actually pigeons.
So chicken thighs. Put them in a baking pan. Cover them with ranch dressing. Crushed corn chips in them in a bag.
Yep.
Put them
No.
on top. Bake them in the oven for 350 for 40 minutes.
And
or so,
that,
whatever
folks, is why I
Anyhow.
just proved that I'm not white enough.
Dude, that shit is legit. You never had that?
No.
I'll be honest, dude, that sounds like...
I've never heard of it either, but it sounds good.
I've never had it, but it
Dude,
sounds
my,
good.
my mom grew up in Mississippi. I thought that was a southern
Did
meal.
she really?
Yeah.
Where was your dad? Is your dad from California?
Yeah, my mom went to California in her high school years, and
Yeah.
my mom grew up in an
She
alcohol
didn't look back.
When did they meet, your mom and your dad?
high school.
Yeah.
She
And then,
didn't look back.
No, and then my grandpa was the missionary on a alcohol rehabilitation farm, so that's ironic. But anyhow,
That explains a lot.
yeah, I suppose.
Christian missionary or?
No, Heath.
Yeah, Christian. I'm not Jewish. If that's
Well, I mean, it's,
No, there's Mormon.
there's, different types
There's
of religion.
Mormon.
No, I
First
grew
of all,
picture
no.
of-
No.
We'll get into this
It's
later.
someone that grew up in New York. I can tell you right now, Jewish people don't have missionaries.
Oh no, okay. No.
You're either Jewish or you're not.
We
Oh.
don't want more people.
So
You
let's
think you'd be
let's
looking
get
for
this
recruits
straight.
at this point,
I
but
know.
Let's get this straight. King, Jehovah Witness, growing up. Heath,
you guys have missionaries. I know that they've come to my door.
Heath, Jewish.
Yeah,
Gordy, what are you, Gordy?
I grew up Christian. My mom taught Sunday.
No,
school.
what's Christian?
Just
there's
non-denominational Christian.
Him and I are in the same boat.
I-
So Luke, non-denominational, and again,
Yeah, we're like,
Where's
we-
Joel Olstein?
I got married at the same church by the same pastor as my parents.
and again.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. I like it.
I mean, I could.
we were his last wedding.
And
before he
again-
I mean, I'm not saying anything, but I probably could have done a better job. But
well,
And
we can
again,
both do it. Okay?
why?
We're both licensed.
if you ever want to renew your vows, I am ordained.
And again, why all of our differences make us stronger together? Because there is some mixed up shit here.
And I'm like, and that's what makes me so
100%.
happy about you bringing that up, because that's really the whole point of this. Like, if we go back, like, to tie things around, the mission, and there be the difference to one person. You do that by, like, through storytelling and stuff like that, because that's the only way we can start to realize that we're kind of alike. Because science the fact that we're genetically identical doesn't mean anything to anybody.
It doesn't.
It's we obviously see the obvious differences of, like, the differences of color, the color of our skin, things like that. But it's through shared storytelling.
And with the way
We could have three heads, but
with the way the internet works nowadays, no
Mm-hmm.
one actually asks any questions.
Mhm.
To most people, it's I read this.
yeah.
I know he's good.
like he knows.
To
before you
mo-
tell him.
to most people, is I read this. This is the gospel,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not how it works. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just not.
Yeah.
Because again, I grew up Jehovah's Witness. You're Jewish. non-denominational, non-denominational. We have varied different backgrounds. It's just, it is what it is. But the fact that we can all sit in a room,
Speak on it.
do you know the most impressive thing about this group?
Are you trying
right
to cover
now?
the microphone so it can't hear what
No,
you're
I
saying,
want
or-
you to hear.
Okay.
He's trying to trap in all the sound.
I'm trapping
Yeah,
it.
all
Do you
the
know
way.
the most important thing about this group in this room is right now, we're not yelling at each other.
Well, that's true, actually. Yeah.
We have done really good about not speaking over each other.
No, it's not even speaking over you. It's yelling. It's having arguments. It's me telling you you're wrong, him telling me I'm wrong, and vice versa. We're having a conversation from our own background.
And that to build on that, a lot of the reason why that is, and for those of you listening at home or watching or anything, do you guys know where that comes from? Because I'll tell you.
Belittling each other
It
off
comes
stage.
from
No.
having a healthy respect for another human being. It comes with realizing that we are all afraid of something. And those fears are valid.
Except for Luke. He's not afraid of anything.
Yeah.
Because
I-
his directive won't allow him to be.
But
my programming doesn't. But I respect that everyone else is afraid of something. So I get.
But
that.
no,
I
and
understand.
that is why I'm so happy to be part of this.
me too. I wouldn't have brought anybody else
If
along.
it just turned into just an argument between all of us about a bunch of nonsense that no one understands, Gordy,
You would retain nothing and enjoy none of it.
And that might, at some point, that might happen. But I
don't see that
have
happening.
100% confidence in the fact that
I don't
we
see that
would
happening.
stop and realize that, okay, we're not having the same conversation. Let's figure out what we're really talking
I've
about.
had
You have to define your term.
I've had interesting
Exactly.
conversations with everyone in this room. And you know what it never devolved into? An argument. At some point, everyone has gone, oh, I can understand your point of view. You can understand my point of view. We can have a conversation about this. There's no reason to raise our voice.
So to take that,
Except for my Outback.
shit. Hey, as a former Outback owner,
It's okay.
You're my favorite lesbian.
I'm a lesbian soccer mom. I'm okay with it.
just to
You beat me to it.
to wrap things up, guys.
Chris owns an Outback.
First off, thank you so much for joining us today. If you guys jumped on the live at some point, if you watch what of this episode I can salvage, I appreciate it. I want to wrap up each episode, and I'm going to do this for every single episode, is I want to tell my brother Sean's, I want to make sure he never really dies.
Tell him you love him. That's all.
And so I want to wrap up every episode by telling my brother Sean's story. He was a 17-year veteran at the Tacoma Police Department, SWAT team member, brother to me, my brother Brian, son to my mother Roberta, son to my father Michael. He was, by all accounts, and I don't care what your perception is about police, he was a real hero. He had nearly 30 accommodations from the state of Washington, 3 times pinned a Medal of Honor by the governor. He did the opposite of what most of us do. Ran towards danger and not away from it. As troubled as my relationship was with him, and as regrettable as the missed opportunities that accounted for, he's going to live on, and he is living on through this podcast. On July 27th, 2022, he took his own life. And a lot of that had to do with a lot of the things that accumulated in his own life that he did not know how to deal with. A lot of the anger that had accumulated inside of him for the way people treat our police officers and the perception they have of them, the weight that held. And that is not the only reason. I'm not pinning this on society. He didn't feel like there was somebody out there that could get the things he was going through. And that's why this podcast is a thing. We're just going to talk about ourselves. And my God, the hope is that we can all make some connection through that. And one of you, at least one goddamn person, sticks around because of it. And that's how I'm going to honor my brother. So, thank you for listening. All right. Love you guys.
We love you all.
Cheers.
Cheers.
How do I stop this? Look out for Gordy. Ah, good run back.
I gotta plug this in.
Oh, yeah, please.